हम लोग सब कुछ इतना सोच के करते हैं, सब कुछ सुन करते हैं कि अच्छा ये करना है, फिर ये करना है, एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द डे यू बिकम अ टेम्पलेट, स्टार्ट ब्रेकिंग द रूल्स। हम खुद ही अपने दिमाग में इतना कुछ सोच लेते हैं कि लोग नहीं कर पाएंगे या फिर मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा। वी जस्ट हैव एक्सक्यूजेस, वी डोंट इवन स्टार्ट टू डू द वर्क दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू गेट दैट थिंग रनिंग। आप घर जाते हो, घर पे एक बेड होता है अच्छा सा, आप बेड पे बैठते हो, थके हुए होते हो, साथ में फोन होता है, फोन को उठाते हो एंड यू स्टार्ट स्क्रॉलिंग। रात को मैं एडिट करते हुए 3 बज गए थे, मैं कुड नॉट इवन टेल कि इतना टाइम हो गया है। आई फॉरगॉट अबाउट इवन हैविंग डिनर। दिल्ली में जाकर के रात में सो गया दिल्ली के एयरपोर्ट पे, सुबह दिल्ली से जयपुर आया, जयपुर से फिर कैब करके कोटा गया, एंड द नेक्स्ट डे I lost my voice. I could not move. I had 102 का बुखार. I did not have my parents with me. I did not have anyone with me. That is when laying in the hospital is when I realized this. So today we'll be talking about something that I've never shared with anyone. So I'll be sharing something that I've never shared with anyone on any of the speeches that I have done. All right? Let's get started. I want to interact with as many of you as possible, so make sure that you don't doze off and actually reply and make this an interactive conversation. Okay? How many of you know who I am, have seen my videos somewhere? Right? So we will skip the whole story and everything and go straight to what I want to tell you today. I have given over 30 speeches in the last 1 year in colleges around the country and in corporates as well. And as a result of that, I got to meet thousands of students. बहुत सारे लोगों से बात करी, बहुत सारे लोगों से क्वेश्चंस पूछे, उनके बारे में समझा, and I realized something that there's no point of talking about LinkedIn personal branding, skill stacking, right? Talking about how can you upskill, how can you get better jobs, how can you do freelancing, how can you do any of that, because there's a fundamental problem. There's a problem that you all are facing, because of which you are not able to hit your true potential. ठीक है? We'll talk about that and we'll understand कि इसको unlearn कैसे करें. ठीक है? So let's try to do that. The hard truth is that most of you people who are sitting here are going to get an 8 to 10 lakh rupees per year package. I can talk about motivation, I can hype you all up, but as per what I saw online, that's the package that you all will be getting on average, right? And that's the reality. Let's just accept that. The first step is to accept your reality before you begin to change it, and we'll talk about that as well. And the reality is most engineers who can be hired are going to get placed in companies making anywhere between 4 to 10 LPA as a starting in their as a fresher, right? But how many of you are like 19, 20, 21? I'm hoping majority of you are in this bracket, right? Like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, right? वही पूरी जनता है. Now, let me ask you a few questions and I want you to reply. Who are these two people? Zepto founders? What age did they start at? 19? They are the Zepto founders. You've used their app. Who are these two people? So these are the Colson brothers who built Stripe, which is a global payments platform. $100 billion company. Zepto, 10,000 crore की company. Right? Another example that you will relate with. Who is this person? The new shark at the latest season. Right? He built Toyo. He started at the age of 19 with Oracle stays because he noticed that कोई भी budget travelers के लिए platform नहीं बना रहा. अगर किसी को travel करना है इंडिया, तो there is no place for them to travel on a budget and find hotels where they can stay on a budget. So he started that, and today it's a $6 billion company. I got to meet him last year and it was the most crazy experience of my life. The funny thing about Ritesh is that he looks young. You can tell that he is very young, but the moment he starts to speak, you can tell there's someone 35 or 40-year-old speaking. Someone who actually has the experience of industry and knows what to talk and sounds so mature that you can never guess his age. And then there's you. If you have a look at the life you've lived so far and the experiences that you've had so far, you should notice something. You've been conditioned by everything around you, by the schools that you've been to, by the college in which you're studying in, by the professors, by the teachers, by the parents, by your own friends, and that creates a conditioning which has limited your ability and your potential to do something big. ऐसा क्यों है यार कि रितेश अग्रवाल स्ट्राइप के जो को-फाउंडर हैं और जो जेप्टो के को-फाउंडर हैं, they were able to achieve all of this at their age, and हम नहीं कर पाए ऐसा? Why is that? They also had the same age. They also have 24 hours in a day, right? The secret to getting there is by unlearning the conditioning you've been through, right? So once you look at what is the problem, you need to start unlearning that, and then you start to figure out कि कैसे you can reach that place and how can you unlock your true potential. So let's try to figure that out. How do you, this is a typical classroom that I created from Midjourney, but yeah, success traits हैं कुछ जो आपने सीखे नहीं है आज तक. There are basically 3 success traits that school failed to teach you, and because of which you are where you are in your life. And I have been through the exact same journey, and I'll share my experiences with you as well. ठीक है? करें बात? Okay, all right. The first thing is curiosity. किसी 10 साल के बच्चे को देखा है? वो हमेशा क्वेश्चन पूछता रहता है कि ऐसा क्यों होता है, ये ऐसे क्यों चलता है, why does this work like this, ये कौन है, ये क्या हो रहा है. And then look at yourself. We have stopped asking questions. क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं जब भी हम क्वेश्चन पूछते थे हमारी क्लासरूम में, हमें चुप कर दिया गया था, राइट? ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन मत पूछो, जितना बताया उतना करो, जितना क्वेश्चन में आंसर है उतना लिखो, मार्क्स मिल जाएंगे, पास हो जाओगे, एंड दैट विल बी द एंड ऑफ योर चैप्टर एंड योर क्लास, एंड यू गेट द ग्रेड एंड यू मूव ऑन. इससे क्या होता है? यू आर नेवर क्यूरियस. You are never curious and you are never fascinated to know more about the world, about how does the world work, about how do people behave and why do they behave that way, right? And subconsciously हम ये questions पूछना भूल जाते हैं एक दूसरे से, and that is a big problem, because when you lose your curiosity to ask questions, you are never able to be creative. जब आप कुछ नई इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए क्यूरियस नहीं हो, you lose your creativity. That is the second thing. You lose your creativity. And when you don't have that creative power, आप कुछ नया नहीं बना पाते हो. You are never able to innovate, right? You're just doing what everyone else is doing and you're just following their footsteps. You're never creative. And इससे क्या होता है? आप जो भी चीज बनाते हो या आप जो भी चीज सीखते हो, there is no differentiator, there is no different value in it जो आप प्रोवाइड कर रहे हो जो कोई और नहीं कर रहा प्रोवाइड, राइट? इससे क्या होता है? You lose the confidence. When you do not have anything unique to offer to people, you automatically don't have the confidence to ask what you are worth, right? तो ये 3 चीजें हैं: क्यूरियोसिटी, क्रिएटिविटी एंड कॉन्फिडेंस. एंड रियलिटी इज दैट हम लोग सब कुछ इतना सोच के करते हैं, सब कुछ सुन के करते हैं कि अच्छा ये करना है, फिर ये करना है, फिर ये करना है. We've been told what to do. रोड मैप बन गया है, राइट? हर चीज का रोड मैप बन गया है. एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द डे यू जस्ट बिकम अ फकिंग टेम्पलेट. यू जस्ट अ टेम्पलेट. दैट्स हु आई वाज एज वेल, राइट? आपने वो सारी चीजें करी जो आपको टीचर ने बोली, जो आपको पेरेंट्स ने बोली, जो आपको आपके दोस्तों ने बोली कि यार ये कर लो, ये कर लो, यू लुक गुड, राइट? बट एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ विच यू बिकम अ कमोडिटी. आप में कुछ यूनिक नहीं बचता. एंड दैट्स व्हाई यू सी पीपल गेटिंग हायर्ड इन सर्विस बेस्ड कंपनीज एट 4 lakh per annum पैकेज, राइट? लेट्स ट्राई टू अनलर्न दिस. Let's try to unlearn the conditioning that we've been through. The first step is to break the rules. You have to do this. होता क्या है कि we've been told कि क्या करना चाहिए, हम कभी सोचते ही नहीं है कि what happens if we don't follow what they say. And we've been told that there is either a right answer or there's a wrong answer to things. We are never told that there can be gray areas, या फिर Things are not always black and white, right? So start breaking the rules. Class bunk कर लो. Go for a trip without having a idea in mind कि आप कब वापस आओगे या कहाँ जाओगे, किससे मिलोगे. Do these things which look like you're breaking the rules. You're breaking what is set for you, right? So you will break that spell of what you should and what you should not do. उससे क्या होगा? You will feel free for the first time in your life. 27 मार्च 2022 में मैंने जब अपना कॉलेज छोड़ा था, that is when I tasted freedom for the first time. I came back to my home, which was in Pune, and for the first time, I was free. I was free of timetables. I was free of restrictions. I was free to do whatever I wanted to do. Right? I had taken that decision कि भाई मुझे नहीं करना. I don't want to follow the path which is set by everyone around me for what I want to achieve. And that is what I went for. अब जब आप ये करोगे, ask yourself a couple of questions. What is it that you truly want to do? What is it that you truly want to do? What area do you want to specialize in if you genuinely had free will? अगर आपको कोई टोक नहीं रहा होगा तो आप क्या चीज करोगे pursue? And that is your true path. That is where you truly belong, right? And हम ये कई बार भूल जाते हैं because हमको बताया गया है कि ये 5 सब्जेक्ट हैं, ये 5 आपको कोर्सेज में एनरोल करना है, आपको इतने मार्क्स स्कोर करने हैं, आपकी लाइफ सेट हो जाएगी. बट वी फेल टू आस्क आवरसेल्व्स कि आपको खुद को क्या पसंद है. एंड दैट इज अ एक्टिविटी दैट विल हेल्प यू गेट देयर. सो दैट इज हाउ यू अनलर्न. ठीक है, दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी दैट विल हेल्प यू. बिकॉज क्या होता है ना कि व्हेन यू आर गिवन अ होमवर्क कि ये करके लाना, यू आर फोर्स्ड टू डू समथिंग. एंड जब भी आप ऐसा कुछ काम करते हो जो आपको फोर्स करके कराया जाता है, यू ऑलवेज क्रिएट अ डल वर्क. वो जो चीज आप बनाते हो, इट इज वेरी लाइफलेस. यू डोंट गिव योर 110% इनटू इट. बट अगर आपको बोला जाए कि डू व्हाट यू लाइक, किसी को पेंटिंग पसंद है तो अपनी खुशी से पेंटिंग बना रहा है, किसी को कोड करना पसंद है तो वो कोड करके अपना एक ऐप बना रहा है. तो व्हेन यू डू समथिंग आउट ऑफ प्योर जॉय ऑफ डूइंग इट, you create something which is much more beautiful, right? You create something which is much more personal, and you've put your all heart and soul into it, and that is how you become fulfilled. So when you create something of value, you create your confidence. because आपको पता है कि आपको ये चीज पसंद है and आपने वो चीज पे implement करके कुछ चीज बनाई. Now you are confident on that space. The next step is when with confidence comes creativity. Now you can explore a lot more fields, you become a lot more creative because आपको interest है इस चीज को explore करने में. And after that, you get more curious about the world and how it works. So that is how do you unlearn and how do you take away that conditioning that you've been dealt with. That is how you become curious, creative and confident as well. ठीक है? Make sense? Okay, all right. Moving on. This is how you become. ठीक है? There are two types of people in this world. There are creators and there are consumers in this world that you live in. There is a consumer who's scrolling on reels, spending 7 to 8 hours on their phone, who are on the sidelines, who cannot pursue what their dreams are, and they are just going through life, right? वो खुद life is taking them through what they have to do, right? सुबह सुबह मम्मी उठा रही है, कह रहे उठो स्कूल जाओ, उठ करके स्कूल जा रहे हैं, वहां पे सबको जो बोल रहे हैं वो कर रही है. they are reacting to life, they are not living life. And then you have the creator. Now, the creator is a person who genuinely feels a need to build something that they can call their own, right? And I experienced this for the first time on the 5th of January 2020 when I made my first piece of video. So I made a piece of video which was about LinkedIn. So I shared everything I've learned about LinkedIn in a 13-minute video. मैंने post कर दी वो. And that gave me more joy and happiness than the last 6 months of assignments and classes that I was going to. And I genuinely loved doing it, right? रात को मैं edit करते हुए 3 बज गए थे, and I could not even tell कि इतना time हो गया है, because I was so engrossed in doing that thing, I had forgotten about time. I forgot about even having dinner. I was just so focused on getting that one thing done. And that is how you need to choose who do you want to be. You can be a creator who builds apps, builds content, builds asset, or you can be the consumer. Right? हम में से बहुत सारे लोग consumers हैं, कुछ गलत नहीं है, but at the end you know who's winning. So always be cautious about that. You can all be creators. You can create something of value that people can learn from. How many of you are active on LinkedIn? How many of you are putting out LinkedIn posts every day? कोई भी नहीं करता. He does it. So as you can see, out of this whole audience is one person who does it. There's such a huge scarcity of content on LinkedIn. No one is putting it out. बहुत कम लोग डालते हैं content. And so the biggest opportunity I had at the starting of my career was just LinkedIn. Because I was available on that platform and I used to just share कि मैं आज क्या सीख रहा हूँ. I attended an event, I used to take a picture and post it and share my learnings from that whole experience. Right? So that is very important. Secondly, you need to become relentless. Everyone that I have met who is a high achiever, they were all relentless about their work. And I wrote this book called as Unlocking Unicorn Secret. So Unlocking Unicorn Secret was a book that I wrote in which I went to the offices of unicorn startups of India. I sat down with every founder who has built a billion-dollar company and I asked them कि आपने कैसे शुरुआत करी? How did you grow it? How did you face the fear of rejection, fear of failure? How did you raise funds? How did you hire people? How did you build the culture at the company? And they all assigned this one word to how they got where they are in life. Relentlessness. It's so funny, right? कभी आपने relentless.com search किया है? It goes to Amazon. So you need to become relentless at whatever you are doing. First you unlearn जो भी आपको सिखाया गया है. Now you start becoming relentless at what you truly want to do. How do you do that? There's only one person that I know that has taught me the true definition of being relentless. And I want you to tell me who that person is. Who is this person? David Goggins. They don't know me, son. Right? So that is David Goggins. Now, I read his book called as Can't Hurt Me. बहुत प्यारी किताब है, सबको पढ़नी चाहिए. Where he talks about the hardships he faced in his life and how did he go ahead of that trauma in his life. And how did he become who he is today? And he talks about a few things that I want you all to work on as well. Right? दो चार चीजें हैं that you can do. Number one is to write down all of your excuses. Why do you think you cannot do something great? मैं जब कॉलेज में आना तो मेरे पास एक दोस्त थी and she was great at German जो language है, she was great at German. तो मैंने बोला कि why don't you make a course and post it on Udemy या फिर on any other website? So like कि नहीं यार मुझे इतने अच्छे से नहीं आती जर्मन, या फिर मैं कैसे बताऊंगी, कितने लोग करेंगे साइन अप. एंड आई वाज जस्ट सो अमेज्ड बाय दैट. लाइक हम खुद ही अपने दिमाग में इतना कुछ सोच लेते हैं कि लोग नहीं कर पाएंगे या फिर मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा. वी जस्ट हैव दिस एक्सक्यूजेस. वी डोंट इवन स्टार्ट टू डू द वर्क दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू गेट दैट थिंग रनिंग. राइट? That's crazy to me. So you have to write down all the excuses you have. I'm not tall enough. I'm not sexy enough. I'm not hardworking enough. Whatever it is, write down your excuses. That is the first step. Look at the accountability mirror. That's the second thing. So what he did is, David took his mirror in which he used to look at every morning and उन्होंने post-it note में लिख लिया what are his insecurities, what are his goals, what are his dreams. उसको वहां पे चिपका दिया. And every morning he used to wake up and look at those goals and start his day with fire. Start his day with discipline. And he knew कि उसे क्या करना है अगले 5-6 साल में. And that is a very important thing to focus on. Another thing, do what makes you feel the discomfort every single day. For me, it was speaking to the camera. For me, it is speaking to you people. I've been the most shy kid you will ever meet in school. होता है ना बच्चा जो हमेशा कोने में बैठता है, बात नहीं करता किसी से, अपने आप ही लंच बॉक्स में खाना खाता है, पीछे बैठे काम करता है, किसी से बात नहीं करता. I used to be that kid. And I started on this mission last year. I was like, कोई ना, मैं जाके लोगों से बात करूंगा, क्या होगा, लोग हंस जाएंगे, कुछ भी. तो I was just focusing on doing something that put me into discomfort every single day. And this has been the most important decision that I took. That's the third thing. Dip into the cookie jar. That's the fourth one. तो कई बार क्या होता है ना, we feel low in life. हुआ है ना किसी के साथ? होता है? You feel that you are not at your fullest. You feel that you are being let down. Dip into your cookie jar. इसका क्या मतलब है? You take a piece of paper and write down all of your accomplishments, all of your achievements, everything that you have done that you are proud of, and look back at it. Look back at the high points of your life, and that will again give you the confidence कि अगर मैंने ये कर लिया तो मैं ये भी कर ही लूंगा, right? All right, let's move ahead. So now I have a couple of things that you can start doing today that will help you immensely in the next 1 to 2 years. You're going to start your career, and if you start working on these few things today, it's going to give you a ton of benefits when you start your career, right? Let's talk about each of these. The first one, delay gratification. Yes, that is the first one. There was an experiment done जहाँ पे मार्शमेलो रखे गए थे 2 बच्चों के सामने. उनको बोला था कि 5 मिनट रुक जाओ, उसके बाद खा लेना, राइट? उनमें से एक ग्रुप ऑफ किड्स ने उन्हें खा लिया उठा करके, एंड दूसरे ने नहीं खाया. द अदर ग्रुप डिड नॉट टच इट. एंड जब ये स्टडी को आगे लेके गए तो ये गॉट टू नो दैट पीपल who did not choose to eat that marshmallow in that time actually were more successful than those who did. And this idea of delaying gratification is the most important thing. बहुत बार क्या होता है ना कि we are always looking for instant short term gratification. हम घर पे आते हैं, बहुत थक जाते हैं, रील खोलते हैं, स्क्रॉल करने लग जाते हैं, and the problem with that is that creates a short term gratification mindset. मैं बहुत सारे लोगों को इंटरव्यू करता हूँ हर दिन. मेरी कंपनी एक मार्केटअप के नाम से जहाँ पे वी ऑफर कंटेंट सर्विसेज, एंड वहां पे आई हैव इंटरव्यूड hundreds of people, right? Both for social media, project managers, video editors, graphic designers, and the biggest quality in those who stuck around with me were the people who had this sense कि कोई ना, I want to work for the future. I don't want to get paid the most the next month, but I want to work in a team in which my learning is the greatest. So they were okay with delaying gratification because they genuinely wanted to learn. The first hire that we had at MarketUp was 2 years ago. We paid him 7,000 a month as an intern. He used to make graphic designs for our Instagram. Today he makes over 1 lakh rupees every month. And he is just graduating from college. He is at his home, working remotely for us in the last 2 years because he was having this mindset of delayed gratification. समझ रहे हो? So this one habit is very, very important, and you must always learn that. The second one is the procrastination loop. कल कर लेंगे ना, कोई बात नहीं, right? It has happened to me as well. I am probably the biggest procrastinator in this whole room. ये जो PPT है मैंने आज बनाई है, and I have learned one thing about myself. I have learned that I need to create artificial urgencies in my life if I want to do something. वरना मुझसे नहीं होगा. So I always make sure that I tell my brain कि मेरे पास ये deadline है and I have to get this thing done in this time or before. Right? So I always ask myself this question: what is an artificial urgency I can create to get myself to get things done faster and not procrastinate? हम क्यों करते हैं procrastinate? Let's talk about that. Right? We procrastinate because we find triggers. आप घर जाते हो, घर पे एक बेड होता है अच्छा सा, आप बेड पे बैठते हो, थके हुए होते हो, साथ में फोन होता है, फोन को उठाते हो, and you start scrolling, and आपके 2 घंटे ऐसे बीत जाते, पता ही नहीं चलता आपको. And afterwards, you won't even remember most of the reels you saw. most of the tweets you read, most of the news you watched. And that's crazy. All right. Learn to say no. I have been the person who has the nice guy syndrome. I have been the person who never likes to say no to people. Because I was like, कहीं किसी को बुरा ना लग जाए, कहीं किसी को ऐसा लगे कि मैं रूड हो रहा हूं. But the reality is, you need to be selfish in this life if you want to achieve something. And I learned this skill from a friend of mine, Kushal Lodha is his name, and he is selfish yet ambitious, and I look up to him for that quality, right? So he's like, I need to get my things done. If you are coming in my schedule, then I will accommodate you, varna nahi ho payega. And he's very strict about that. He will not break his schedule for accommodating someone else. And he's just ruthlessly selfish about himself. And that's how he was able to grow so much. Right? So there are people like that you learn a lot from. And this habit of learning to say no will help you out a lot. Right? कई बार दोस्त बोल रहे होंगे कि यार Friday night है, चलो चलते हैं. And you need to realize, are you saying yes because you genuinely want to go? Or are you saying yes because you don't want to make them feel bad? या फिर you think that कि वो फिर वापस invite नहीं करेंगे. Right? So always ask yourself that question and start saying more no's. Life will get much more peaceful. All right. Fix your sleep. कितने लोग 5 घंटे से कम सोते हैं? 5 घंटे से कम. मैं भी 5 घंटे से कम सोया हूं आज. कोई बात नहीं. It's okay. So I realized the importance of sleep by getting hospitalized last year. So I got hospitalized because I put my body into undue pressure. Because I was like, I need to say yes to every opportunity, right? Nice guy syndrome. So I went for a trip to Kota. बड़ी गर्मी में. लेओवर फ्लाइट थी, दिल्ली में जाकर के रात में सो गया दिल्ली के एयरपोर्ट पे, सुबह दिल्ली से जयपुर आया, जयपुर से फिर कैब करके कोटा गया. And the next day, I lost my voice. I could not move. I had 102 का बुखार. I did not have my parents with me. I did not have anyone with me. And that is when laying in the hospital is when I realized this importance of sleep. And it's okay for you to, not sleep properly right now. But इसके जो effects हैं वो आप अपने खुद के ऊपर देखोगे in the next 2 to 3 years. Right? Like I was learning a lot about how our skin works, how our mood works, how our body works. And it's all a function of how well are you sleeping. How well do you sleep and how much water are you drinking every day. And that can solve 90% of all the problems you are facing in your physical health. Right? And again, मैं कोई doctor नहीं हूँ, I've just learned from experience. You can look and research more about this and realize that sleep matters. All right. Again, do it, especially when you don't feel like it. ये एक lesson है जो मैंने सीखा है. कई बार क्या होता है ना कि I have flights to catch, I have events to go to, but I also have videos to record. तो कई लोग बोलते हैं थक गए हो, कोई बात नहीं, सो जाओ and अगले दिन कर लेना. And I'm like, I will sleep when the task is done. Which is to record the video, which is to hire someone, which is to complete that deal, whatever it is. I say I will get done when the task is done. Only then I'll sleep. And this mindset is the most important when you are a 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old. Because
आप में से कितनों ने वो शाहरुख खान की रील देखी है?
इसमें वो बोलते हैं कि आराम हराम है, अगर कुछ बड़ा अचीव करना है तो आपको बहुत सारी चीजें सैक्रिफाइस करनी पड़ेंगी. That is so true. Right? Today I am where I am because I sacrificed on a lot. I don't have a single friend from my batchmate. From my entire batch of 800 students in BITS Goa, I don't have a single friend. Because I did not go for that. I chose a different life. And I lost on something in life. I don't have any college memories. But that's what I chose. And I do not regret that. Because I purposefully chose this path. तो आपको खुद को ये सोचना पड़ेगा, what is that one thing that you are willing to sacrifice for a bigger life? Right? So think about that. Always seek feedback. Who is this person? Kunal Shah. So Kunal Shah, spoke in an interview how the best people he has worked with were always open to feedback. The best people he has worked with are always comfortable taking feedback. And the ones who never learned, who had a fixed mindset, were very angry. जब ये उनको feedback दो कि आप ये ठीक नहीं कर रहे हो, you can improve on this, you can work on this better, you can improve yourself. They just could not handle criticism. They just could not handle feedback. And ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, क्योंकि आपको पता है लाइफ में हमारे बहुत सारे अननोन अननोन्स होते हैं. ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो आपको पता ही नहीं है कि आपको नहीं पता है. एक तो है नोन अननोन्स, कि मुझे पता है कि मुझे स्विमिंग करनी नहीं आती, मुझे पता है कि मुझे कार चलानी नहीं आती, बट देयर आर ऑल्सो थिंग्स दैट यू डोंट नो एंड यू ऑल्सो हैव ब्लाइंड स्पॉट्स इन योर ओन लाइफ दैट यू कैन नॉट आइडेंटिफाई ऑन योर ओन. हम सबको लगता है कि हम सब परफेक्ट हैं, बट ओनली व्हेन समवन एल्स सीज यू फ्रॉम देयर पर्सपेक्टिव कैन दे टेल व्हाट आर यू रियली लैकिंग. जैसे एक चीज I get told a lot by all of my friends are, I don't take care of my health enough. I don't take care of my fashion sense enough, for example. ऐसा बोलते हैं वो. Right? I have someone who is a fashion designer, so she's always like, you can improve your fashion, you can buy this, buy that. So that is my blind spot. And I did not know about it before she told me. So you should always be open to getting feedback from people. All right. Leave your hometown. आप में से कितने लोग मुंबई से ही हो? Wow, time to leave Mumbai. So I used to live in Pune when I dropped out of college. College छोड़ के I came to Pune. I was 3 days with my parents. I booked a ticket, came to Bangalore. And since then, it has been 1.5 years और मैं Bangalore में रह रहा हूँ. क्यों? Why did I leave my place? Why did I chose to shift to a new place? हाँ, आई नो कंपनीज हैं बहुत सारी, ऑफिसेज हैं बहुत सारे एंटरप्रेन्योर रहते हैं, बट क्यों? आई कैन गेट अ मीटिंग विद देम ऑन Zoom एज वेल, राइट? तो व्हाई डू यू हैव टू शिफ्ट टू अ हॉटस्पॉट फॉर अपॉर्चुनिटीज? द रियलिटी इज you never know what coincidence you might come up with. There are so many things happening in a place like Bangalore, you never know who you might bump into. It has happened to me so many times. आज से 2 दिन पहले I was in my gym. I met this guy who recognized me. He is the CEO of a fintech company. He said, I want to work with you and your agency. I was like, ठीक है, number लेते हैं. Today we did a meeting with him and we closed him. He's a client now. Right? And all of this happened because I came out of my comfort zone and I chose to settle in a place which is new to me. I knew that Bangalore has opportunities, but more than opportunity, it is just the coincidences that happen. आपको नहीं पता who you might meet, but there's so much opportunity. There are so many interesting events that can happen in your life. And that is why you should leave your hometown and learn to be independent. Right? I recently moved out of my parents' house and I tried doing everything myself. Right? So बर्तन खुद मांज रहा हूँ, कपड़े खुद धो रहा हूँ, and all that. And I genuinely enjoyed that because I learned to become independent. And I think that's the most important skill that you should learn right now. Okay. Connect with high value people. कहाँ मिलते हैं high value people? Conferences, events, gym. Try going to the gym every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. You will meet the best people in your locality. People who respect their health will always be further ahead than anyone else in their career. And you will notice that multiple times in your life. So these are the places where you will find high value people. People who have gone through the struggles and have built something truly big. I got to meet so many crazy people. I was in an event here only in some college and I got to meet Mangal Prabhat Lodha. Right? Who built Lodha Reality and everything. And I was just sitting with him and I talked to him and I was like, kitni interesting baat hai. Matlab, I can come to these events and I can meet people who have years and years of experience and I can learn a thing or two from them. So start going to these conferences. Just be curious. Ask questions. And you never know where it might lead you. All right. How many of you have seen this on Instagram? Delulu is not the Salulu. Delulu is the Salulu. I think that in your 20s, you have to be delusional. If you want to do something big, you have to be delusional. Kyun? You do anything in life. You go ask out that crush you've always been wanting to be with. You go start that startup you always want to start. You go make a ton of money. All of these things need you to be delusional, right? Nothing about success and winning in life is rational. It's all delusional. It was delusional of me to think that I can drop out at the age of 20, move to Bangalore, and actually live a life. My director of my college talked to me before I left college, and she was like, "Kya karoge bina degree pe?" And I was like, "I don't know, I'll figure something out." And so that's what you need to understand. Always be delusional. And that will help you win. Delulu is the Salulu. Okay, nothing about success, as I've just told you, is rational. What is next? So, this is a Japanese proverb. It basically says, a frog in a well does not know the ocean. सुना है किसी ने? सुना है? क्या होता है इसमें? स्टोरी है basically. There's a frog who's in a well and they think that the well is everything that there exists in the world. His reality is the well. Well के बगल में एक ओशन होता है बहुत बड़ा सा. उस ओशन से कछुआ निकल के आता है. वो बोलता है फ्रॉग को कि भाई बाहर ओशन है, ओशन को देखो तुम. Come to the ocean. And he's like, what are you talking about? The well is everything I've known in my entire life, in my entire experience. And so, this is a very funny story. This is a frog. That's the kachua. And this is Sam Altman from OpenAI. And he made a thread on Twitter talking about how to be successful. And he said in his first tweet that, you can read this whole thing, but the main highlight is, do not get complacent with the do not get complacent with the local maxima in your life. आप सबने मैथ्स लिए 12th में? You all know maxima minima. कई बार होता है ना, हम लोग लाइफ में कुछ अचीव करते हैं छोटी सी चीज एंड हमको लगता है कि सब कुछ, दिस इज इट, आई हैव अचीव्ड इट इन लाइफ. एंड द रियलिटी इज you don't even realize, but that's just a local maxima in your life. And I used to think that, moving out, going to Bangalore, being a creator is a big thing. It was only when I go and meet people in conferences and realize that I have done nothing so far. There are so many more maximas for me to hit. And I will only realize that when I will go and meet more people. When I will meet more turtles. हम सब हमारी वेल में रह रहे हैं. हमको लगता है कि वेल ही सब कुछ है. We don't realize that there's actually a whole ocean outside of us to conquer. And that's a very important thing to understand. That's what Sam Altman was talking about as well. So identify what is a local maxima for you in your own life. Let's keep moving. Another example of a frog. There are too many frog references. Frog in a hot pan. ये सुना है story? सुनिए. What happens is, if you take a pan of hot water and you put a frog in it, it will immediately jump out. But the minute you take a normal water and put a frog in that, nothing will happen. The frog will be in that water. The minute you start to turn up the heat, the frog will try to acclimate in that atmosphere, in that temperature. You keep turning on the heat, the water starts boiling, and you find the frog still in that water. And the frog dies over there in the hot water. Kyun? Because that frog forgot to exit. He forgot when he needs to exit. And in all of our lives, there are points at which we need to learn when to say no and exit out of that place. If you want to go to some place bigger. Varna you will get complacent and comfortable with where you are. It happened with me last year. I realized that मैं भी जो कर रहा हूँ अच्छा है. But recently I realized, because I met a mentor of mine who's 10 years ahead of my journey, and he made me realize this thing. I was becoming a frog in a pan. And so many of us are like that as well. Okay? There's a mindset which is very toxic on social media कि ठीक है, किसी ने तुमको ठुकरा दिया, prove them wrong. Right? हम सब देखते हैं, I will prove them all wrong.
I used to think that as well.
In my college, when I first made that video, everyone bullied me. Everyone typed mean things in the WhatsApp group that I was a part of. And I was of the mindset that I will prove every single person wrong. Now what happened is, the reality is, let's say the reality is, making them jealous will not set you free. Making them feel that you are bigger than them will not set you free. The only thing that will set you free is when you know that you're becoming a better version of yourself. The only one you need to prove to is yourself. And ye cheez I realized after 1 year into content. I realized that most people who say mean things to you don't really care much about your life. वो जब बस आए उन्होंने कुछ देखा and they said something and they went back. No one is really caring about your life that much. So stop doing it to prove them wrong. Do it for your own self. Do it to become a better version of your own self. And that's very important. Patience is key. मुझे लगता है बहुत सारे लोग ना बहुत जल्दी पैसा कमाने के माइंडसेट में है. मैं बहुत सारे लोगों से मिलता हूँ and I offer them this thing कि either I can pay you your salary that you are demanding, like कि मुझे ईशान 70,000 rupees चाहिए per month and I'll work for you remotely. चलो ठीक है. That's one choice I can give you. Another choice is I'll pay you 50,000 rupees plus I'll pay you commission on every sale you get me. Everyone goes with 70,000 per month. With that commission, they could have potentially made 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakhs as well. But ऐसा क्यों होता है? We fear more from loss than we have the will to gain. Right? And that's very important for you to understand. And patience is so important. There's a very funny quote from Warren Buffett. And वो बोलते हैं कि you cannot make a baby in 1 month by making 9 women pregnant. Right? समझा? नहीं समझा? नहीं समझा? इसको नहीं समझा. So that's what you need to understand. Sometimes all you need to do is to just wait. I used to meet a lot of people and I used to think that कोई trick होगी जिससे ये इतने wise हैं, इतने wise कैसे हैं ये? There was a person who I look up to and I asked him that, how are you so wise? And he was like, I'm 60 years old. Some things just come with age. There is no shortcut. There is no trick to it. So you have to be okay with that. And that's very important. Lastly, Abhi, you all will go back to your home or to your hostel. You will sit down and you will go to sleep. Before you sleep, I want you to ask this question to yourself. And the question is, how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail? How big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail? Just ask yourself this question. I asked myself that question when I came back home during the pandemic, and I was like, I want to make content. I want to learn skills. I know I might not succeed. I know I might not make money. The first 6 months I made zero money from content. 18 July 2020 is when I made $1. The first 6 months I did nothing. Zero revenue. I was putting in work every single day. But I just loved it, so I did it for it. And that's it. That is a talk. Thank you so much.